Okay, so we got the next pasuk in our lineup, 12:14. The translation is hard in the sense that there's some ambiguity. I know we've had ambiguity before, but the trick is going to be to preserve the ambiguity here. Okay, mipri fi ish yisba tov ugmul yede adam yashiv lo. Who wants to take it? Mipri fi ish yisba tov ugmul yede adam yashiv lo. I didn't mean to intimidate people by saying it's hard.
Oh, from the fruit.
From the fruit,
the man will be satisfied with good.
P-ish.
Oh, P-ish, the mouth.
Yeah, so P-ish.
The mouth of a man.
Yep, from the fruit of I'm gonna just say a man's mouth. Yisba tov, and I forgot how you said it. He will be
satisfied
with good. Okay, satisfied with good. All right, now gmul is a difficult one. And the difficulty is that it can be used for good or for bad.
Isn't it like gemilas chasidim?
Yeah, so that would be an example of using it for good. Gemilas chasadim, gomel chesed means to bestow goodness, but it can also be used for bad. So there's only one word that I know that that fits. The only problem is that no one uses it in English. So I'm going to use it, but I use it reluctantly. Ugmul yedei adam. Anyone know what I'm thinking of? So, and the recompense. Okay, recompense is the payment that you deserve. Okay, i.e. the deserved payment. Okay, yedei adam.
The hands of a man.
Yep, of a man's hands. Yashiv lo.
Will return to him.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I think all meforshim, maybe not all, but all the ones who say it outright, say Hashem in brackets will return to him. Okay, or maybe instead of return, maybe payback is a way to like have the recompense and payment. Okay, so from the fruit of a man's mouth he will be satisfied with good, and the recompense, meaning the deserved payment of a man's hands. Actually, what I'm going to do is do this. He will pay back. Or he will repay. That's how you say it in English, repay, right? Because that's the returning. Okay, so one ambiguity here I want to note, okay, which is fruit. So the literal translation of pre is fruit. Okay, but what is another? Google thought I was talking to it. What is another translation of pre?
The outcome.
Outcome. Okay, right. So outcome is another one. And is there another one? Yeah, there is another one also that's similar to outcome.
I was gonna say offspring.
Oh, that's also true. Okay, outcome.
I guess like profit.
We do use it for profit. I'm going to actually use just a slightly more generic term, or product. Okay, yeah. So outcome, product, or offspring. Okay, so from the I mean, now obviously this is not not obviously, but like offspring is the hard one here, right? Because you're not eating your offspring. Yeah. So in fact, I don't think that one applies unless you could find a way to read it where it doesn't sound cannibalistic. Another thing I wanted to say here is, okay, so the way Ariel translated it is the way that most people translate it, which is that good is a noun. So let me do this. Okay, we'll call this the noun translation. Okay. There is an adjective translation, which I didn't see a lot of people do, but adjective translation is from the fruit of a from the fruit of the mouth, a good man will be satisfied. Okay, so he's learning it. This is the Ibn Kaspi learns as tov is an ish tov. So from the so it's like that. So from the fruit of the mouth, a good man will be satisfied. Okay, and then the rest is the same. And then there's also another translation, which is I don't know what we'll call it. This is the Meiri, okay? Meiri's translation. And this is his second translation. So he says, so he reads it as Pi ish yispatov mipri. A man will be satisfied with good from fruit. Okay. So these are the ambiguities here. Now, let's go ahead and like shrink these because these are just alternative readings. Okay, and you know what? Let's just call it this. All right, let's do this. Main translation, and let's do alternative translation number 1, and then alternative translation number 2. Yeah, Isaiah.
In the Meiri's translation, what happens to P?
Oh yeah, sorry. A man's mouth. Thank you. And then this is Ibn Kospi. Yeah. Okay. So if it's too much for you to think about, then go ahead and just focus on the main translation. Okay. So then we have let's moving on here. And this is also part of the main translation. Okay. Sadigon just says Yashiv lo Yigmalehu Hashem. Hashem will repay him. Okay. So that's like I have it here, and I think everyone says that. All right, so the Targum here, I learned a methodology lesson from this Targum. Okay, so let me ask you first of all, if you see anything like noteworthy. Gavra, I'm gonna translate it here. Okay, Gavra min pri pume, a man from the fruit of his mouth, Yisba Tavsa will be satisfied with good. V'chol barnash, oh, actually that is something, and every person, heich ovad aidoi mispriya, will be paid back in accordance with his handiwork. Actually, yeah. Okay, actually that is significantly different. I don't know why I thought it wasn't. I'll tell you what I was gonna say. I was gonna say at first I didn't see anything different in the Targum. Let's just see here. Alternative translation. I know I didn't spell that right. 3. This is Targum. Yeah. So I realized that when you have a pasuk that is this diverse in people's translations, sometimes if the Targum just translates it like without adding anything, that is taking a stance. So like just because sometimes we'll often in fact brush aside the Targum and say like, okay, it's just a straight translation. But sometimes the straight translation is like weighing in on it when there are other translations. Okay. Art Scroll says. Actually, let me do this. Let me just make it all nice here. Okay, so our scroll says, from the fruit of a man's mouth, he will be sated with good, for the recompense of a man's handiwork will be returned to him. So they do say handiwork. Okay. Actually, let me just do this. I'll incorporate this in here. Handiwork. Okay, recompense of a man's hands or handiwork. Okay. Living Knox says, from the fruit of a man's mouth he is sated with good, a man is repaid in kind for his deeds. Okay, so that's similar. Rav Hirsch says, from the fruit of a man's mouth he gets good satisfaction, as the recompense of a person's handiwork shall be rendered him. Okay, that's a little too archaic for me. Alter says, from the fruit of a man's mouth he is sated with good, a man gets recompense for his acts. Okay, so he's just taking handiwork as acts. Okay, so again, I'm going to go ahead and default assume that you're going based on the main translation, but you'll have to specify whether you're saying fruit, outcome, product, or handiwork. And then these are just here for a drop-down menu if you have more things. Let's combine this here. Okay, what are the questions and problems? Yes, Rifki.
Is this talking about the same person?
Two halves, you mean?
Yeah.
That's a great question. Okay, so that's actually a machlokas. Okay, are the two halves of the pasuk talking about the same person or different people? Okay, good. Yeah, let me just put this through here. So miprifi ish yisbatov, but yeah, so you could say a but here, right? Which is always the option with the vavs in the middle. But the recompense of a man's hands he will repay. So the first half would be the good half. The second half would be the bad half. Yeah, and according to the Ibn Kospi, you could still say the same ambiguity, I think. Yeah. Okay, Isaiah.
Even if you do say it's the same person, is it referring to like two separate things happening, or is it one event of him getting back good.
Okay, and if it is and if it is referring to the same person, is it talking about say, how do you say again?
Like, is it the same event in both the first half and the second half?
In both halves, or is it talking about two different phenomena? Okay, good. Yalla.
So I guess what does me pre-ish mean, but also specifically, like, why is it focusing on the mouth and the fruit of the mouth?
Yeah, okay. So the question is going to be, what does fruit of the mouth mean? And then I guess fruit, outcome, product of the mouth. I'm going to go ahead and add to this, which is saying if pre is a metaphor, what is the metaphor? Because if it just means outcome or product, then it's not a metaphor. Yeah, Ariel.
Two questions. One, what is the scenario? And second, what exactly are the two halves? It doesn't seem like the second half of the pasuk is an opposite. It just seems like it's just another.
What scenario? What specific scenario, if any, is this talking about? Okay, and then are the two halves opposites? And if so, how? That's kind of related to the question of to question one. Yeah, you know what, I'm gonna actually move this closer to this question here. Yeah. Okay. I think my dad's next. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just a question before the question. Fruit is a much more positive implication than outcome or product.
Yeah, so I think I think that's also partially why I wanted to highlight outcome or product, because in Hebrew, then it is it's not necessarily positive. It's kind of like in English, I think in English we say you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
And even though produce is generally a good thing, we use that idiom to mean like for good and for bad.
So the outcome from a man's mouth will not always result in good.
Right. Okay, so that's a good question. Let's see here. Yeah. So let's first ask, what does it mean to be satisfied with good? Okay, then let's ask, is it true that that a person
Verbalization. Yeah.
will always be, say it again?
The product of a man's verbalization.
Right. With the fruit, outcome, or product of his mouth, right? Seems not. Okay, good. Rifki.
So 2 questions. Number 1, I think it's on Ayala's question that I think it's interesting that it's using mouth, but also hand. So like,
Oh yeah.
Another thing is like, yeah, obviously he's talking about the mouth, but why does he use hands and what is it actually supposed to be implying?
Yeah.
And then the other question is on like where he will repay. So I'm assuming it's Hashem because you capitalize the H.
Yeah.
So yeah, my question is, I just feel like in general, my understanding at least like of the few psukim that I've done with you, obviously, is that I feel like in general, it doesn't explicitly speak about Hashem. So what exactly is it saying? And also could this be, I guess this is more for like an approach, but if we're speaking about Hashem repaying this man, is that more likely to lead us to believe that it's the same person as the first part?
Okay, so let me ask on the repayment part. Okay, so let me just say emphasize or contrast mouth and hands. The question here is, if Hashem is doing the repaying, what do you say about if Hashem is doing the repaying, then what?
I think it was hard for me to even like explicitly state a question because just generally speaking, I feel like we don't speak about hashgacha. Yeah.
Okay, so you are correct that we typically don't. I do want to. It's funny. I'm going to read this, even though I didn't ask for permission. but I feel like he wouldn't mind. So Zach sent me randomly today he said a friend of his asked what Mishlei was, and so he sent him, so this is the answer he sent him, okay? Mishlei is a book written by King Solomon, who's classified as the wisest man to ever exist in Jewish belief, since I believe he was classified that way in a prophecy. Anyway, he wrote several books, but this one is about how to succeed in life, almost no matter what your goals are. And it's written as a collection of proverbs literally translated to Mishlei in Hebrew. They're meant to have many layers for the various audiences and that read them, as well as stand the test of changing times. Overall, a very powerful and impactful book. The rabbis of the ancient era credit him and his proverbs with making the Torah accessible to the masses. Although, interestingly enough, there is almost no mention of the Torah in his work and hardly any mention of God. He primarily focuses on how moral actions and caring for others logically leads to outcomes in your own best interest. Learning his train of thought leads a person to intuit this understanding over time. Okay, so that was a good description of Mishlei. I just want to, out of curiosity, see something here. Let's see how many psukim we've done in the last 3 years that say Hashem. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 5, 6, 7, 7. Okay, yeah. So you are correct that statistically we haven't done that many. And now let's just do a check here in Mishlei as a whole. I'm just very curious because you are correct that a lot of the psukim we've done. I knew the search would have a lot of results, but let's just see in Mishlei. Oh, 100. Hashgacha. Okay. So Hashem's name is mentioned in Mishlei 100 times. So it's not the reason why I'm bringing this up is like it's not like Hashem. It's not like Mishlei doesn't use Hashem. Okay. For example, Koheles uses Hashem 0 times. Okay. Koheles uses Elohim a lot, but it never uses Hashem. There you can like read significance into it, or like Megillas Esther doesn't use the Shem Hashem a lot, With Mishlei, it does use Hashem, but I think I liked the I think so. In other words, like I just want to like dispel the notion that Mishlei doesn't talk about Hashem. I think here you do have a hook for answering this, because if this is Hashem, then why doesn't it identify him like explicitly? So let's do that. If Hashem is doing the repaying, then what are we to make of this? Okay, like B, why doesn't it just describe, why doesn't it mention him specifically, okay, instead of relegating him to an ambiguous pronoun? And C, why not just describe the consequence as a consequence instead of as a reward and punishment payment?
Can I ask?
Wait, one more thing.
Yeah.
So, and then I think one other thing that I was trying to ask was in terms of just trying to figure out if it's one person or two people.
Yeah.
So I was saying that because it says like Hashem or Hey, then are we assuming that it's leaning more toward being one person as opposed to two?
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that is the interesting thing, right? In other words, I don't know if you were taking this part into account, but Yisba Tov just sounds like a natural result, right? He'll be satisfied with good. So if this is all talking about one person, then if this is talking about Hashem, then it kind of lends itself to the fact that it's talking about one person. Is that what you're saying? But if it's talking about two people, someone good and someone bad, then it is weird that it's lopsided. Okay, that's a very nuanced question. Okay, I'll add that as D. Okay, does this have a bearing on our answer to? No, I'm not going to number the question. On whether this pasuk is talking about one person versus two. Okay, hopefully we'll know. Future generations will know what that means. Yeah, Ariel.
Yeah, can I just add on to that? Like for D, like what's the point in mentioning Hashem will repay you?
What's the point? Are you just asking what is the idea of the second half of the pasuk? Did I freeze?
No, I think it's Ariel.
It's Ariel. Okay. All right.
It might be me.
Yeah, I think.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. Yeah. So my question was, are you asking just what's the idea in the second half of the pasuk? Oh, you're frozen. Okay, I don't know what's going on.
No, I was just adding on to, like
Can't hear you. Sorry.
can you hear me?
I'll let you type it in and I'll read it if you want. But yeah, it's hard to hear you. Yeah, Isaiah.
So the fact that it says mul recompense seems to imply that like there's a debt. So how did a debt become
Okay, so I don't think gumul has to be a debt, because we do say gomel chesed, and that's without a debt. Recompense means, I think, that you're just being compensated for what you did. I don't know. Let me look up the word recompense.
Well, we're saying it's the yashuv blow, so it's like a returning to him.
Okay, yeah. So that question we can ask, which is hold on. Okay, what is the implication of yashiv lo? He will repay him. Is this just describing getting what you deserve, or is there some implication of debt? I guess. Yeah, I don't think it has to be that. Just from the way Gemul is used and the way Yashiv is used for that, in my intuition. But again, I'm going on intuition here. Yeah, Ariel, let's see if it works now.
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, right now I can
Okay,
hear
awesome.
you.
Okay, so I was
Video's a little
just adding
slow.
on to Rifki's point on Hashem, like he will repay you back. Like what's the point in saying that Hashem will repay you? Like what's the like who like I mean, why do we care that Hashem has to be the one to pay you?
Yeah. Okay.
Do we ask
So
that?
yeah, that's kind of what I had intended in what are we to make of this? I guess like this framing. Yeah, like why do we frame it in terms of Hashem?
Okay, and okay, now for my my other question was like how will we be satisfied with good in the first half of the pasuk?
Yeah. How will this satisfaction come about? Yeah, in fact, you know what? I'm gonna merge all these into one question. Yeah, okay, good. Tamar?
So I have like I guess I have like a question and a half. So the half question is like on the repaying, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my question is like, how does this play out in terms of practicality? And I guess that's also my question on the whole pasuk. Like this, since we said we don't exactly know what the case is, just the what are the consequences that are being expressed here? I guess.
Okay. So what specific scenario is this talking about? And how does this play out practically? Yeah, very abstract. Yeah. Ariel?
Yeah. Now if we say for the second half of the pasuk in our translation, are we only saying that it's Hashem, or it could also mean man?
So, I think the Targum said, and I don't know my Aramaic grammar well enough to say if this is definitively true, but he said, Hech ovad aidoi misperia. I think misperia means that it will be paid back.
Okay.
But I don't know, which means that, but he definitely doesn't insert Hashem there. So I don't think it has to be Hashem. I think it could just be that it will be given back to him. The weird thing is that it does say Yashiv, which is saying he will or it will pay back.
Right.
So it does seem to need an actor. Now, maybe what you could say is that the P-ish is doing the repaying back. But so that would be very weird. But if you read that way, from the fruits of a man's mouth, he will be. Actually, I don't know about that. He will be satisfied with good. So the fruits, though, are satisfied. It's strange, but the recompense of his handiwork, his mouth will pay him. That'd be strange. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if there's any other candidates. It could be other than Hashem and he. Yeah.
Right. So I guess my I'll just leave it as an open question. Like if it is not Hashem, like what's the difference between Hashem and I don't know, someone else paying back?
Okay, yeah.
Or whatever.
If it's not Hashem, then what difference does that make? Yeah, Ayala?
Okay, this may be under question 5, but what does the hava mean of the second half? Or like it kind of sounds obvious that he'll be paid back what he deserves.
Yeah. Okay.
Or Hashem will
So
pay him back what he deserves.
okay, right. So I'm going to actually ask that on the whole thing, which is what is the hava amina for the whole pasuk or each half? What would we think were it not for this pasuk? Yes, my dad is next.
So the question, the current question is, who's the target audience here?
Right. Who is the audience? Who is the intended audience here?
Is it someone who's getting ready to speak and is about to transgress in some way with his words, or
Yeah, so that is a good question here. I just to jog our memory here, let's just read the one we did last week, because there are some who attached the two psukim. Last week we read Befesha Sifasayim Mokesh Ra Vayiti Mitzara Tzadik. In the offense of the lips is an evil snare or snare for an evil person, but the tzaddik escapes from tzara, and then from the mouth, then our pasuk is after that.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it could be following that. In fact, I'll just say this here. Is this related to the previous pasuk? Yeah, Rivki?
I'm not sure if this is included in any of the questions because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
In terms of saying it, like it says Ish and Adam. So first of all, I wanted to
Okay.
ask, is there actually a difference between Ish and Adam, like in reality? I guess.
Okay.
Yes. And also similar to that, like, I think this is also why I'm having trouble, because sometimes I think it's easy to say, even if you don't have a tzaddik and a rasha, you can still see that one person is doing the correct thing and one person isn't.
Yeah.
Because even though that it just doesn't make sense, like even without that, I still can't figure out. Does that make sense? I'm just very confused.
I did not catch the second question.
Okay, so I'm saying that sometimes even if it doesn't say tzaddik or rasha, you can tell what's a good and bad action.
Right.
And I'm saying that this is not one of those situations.
Well, I think the first half seems good.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't think the second half seems like a negative.
Right. So the second half is either good or negative or both. Right? Because it's stated Gumul is neutral, and being paid back the Gumul is it could go either way, you know. And the
Yeah.
meforshim take it that way also. So yeah, it is that is basically, I mean, unless I'm missing something, I think that is the question of are the two halves talking about the same person or different people, you know, or are the two halves opposites? Yeah. In fact, I'm going to merge those two questions also. I'm into merging questions today. Yeah, Isaiah.
So is there a significance to there not being any like Mishlei characters in this pasuk? Just notes.
Yeah, I'm going to tack that on to the audience here. Is the what do we make of the fact that there are no Mishleic archetypes here? Yeah, and in fact, it's even said in a very generic way. Pi ish and yidei adam sounds like it's talking about everybody, right? Okay. Minor question, which I'm just going to say, not because we're going to answer. You know, whenever you have a Greek sieve where you're, you know, it's written Yashuv and you're supposed to read it Yashiv, then it pays to ask why it says that. You know, there's I know I say this every time there's a Greek sieve, but there's 3 reasons given by the Abravanel why there are these Greek sieves in Tanakh. Sorry, in Nach. In sometimes it's there to convey 2 ideas, like to say one idea and to allude to another idea. Sometimes it is there for a euphemism, that there's a more explicit term written in the written version, and then the way you're supposed to read it is a euphemism. And then only in Nach, but not in Chumash, there can be scribal errors or spelling mistakes. So for example, here you could easily see how like this was written as Yashuv, but it was just because someone got it wrong that they extended the yud, you know, and made it a vav. So it does pay. I'll add this just to ask the question here. Is there a significance to the Greek sieve. And, sometimes the words mean different things. I tried to figure out what the meaning is in the difference between yashuv and yashiv. They both mean to return, but I don't know the grammar about, like, I think yashiv is to like give something back, whereas yashuv is like will return, like, like Klal Yisrael will return to Israel, not to give it back to Israel. But I couldn't really find people to talk about it. There are meforshim who talk about what the difference is, but I just kind of want to leave it alone. I don't know if I have enough knowledge to answer that question. Okay, so I will copy and paste this and put this in the chat. Oh, sorry. Okay, Ariel, I didn't see the notification of the message, but I'm glad that you got another connection. Okay, there's that, and this. Is that all of them? Yeah. Okay, a lot of questions. Okay, so let's take our thinking minute. This is a tough one. And I'll tell you where my intuition is going, just not like what the idea is, but if I were you and I needed a hook, I would focus on pre-P-ish, like what is that all about? And that being contrasted with Gemul Yedei Adam. That's just where my intuition is going. I have another question. Yeah, so how do all those get highlighted? In fact, I actually have another question, but I just want to make sure that this question is authentic. Okay, yeah. So okay, so in 2020 we did this in our morning Mishlei Shiur. Mi prifi ish tispa bit no, from the fruit of a man's mouth his belly will be satiated. So that's very similar to the first half of ours. Tivuas sefasav yispa, the produce of his mouth will satisfy. Okay, so there we asked a question, which I think you can ask on this. It's a weird mashal, if it's a mashal, okay, because it's, ordinarily, where do you get fruit from? You get it from a tree. Okay, here, where are you getting fruit from? You're getting fruit from your mouth, and what are you doing with the fruit? You're eating it. Okay, so in fact, just for kicks, actually it gave me nightmares. So I tried to just get Dali to draw or to not draw, to make a photorealistic thing of this pasuk, and it showed basically a guy, like it showed 6 panels, a guy like vomiting out food and then eating it, so it's that just underscored the weirdness of it. So I'm going to add that to the question about the mashal, which is where did I put the mashal here?
Can we see the photos?
I can show it to you. Yeah, I mean the faces came out all disturbed also.
I'm really curious now.
History. Yeah, like this was the weird one. Man producing fruit from his own mouth and eating it. Okay, so now you're gonna have nightmares as well. Okay, anyway.
Wait, I have an idea.
Gave you an idea. Wow. Okay.
No, I'm joking.
All right. Where did I put the question about the fruit? Is that up there? Oh yeah. What is the metaphor? Moreover, it's a wacky metaphor that a person is producing fruit from his mouth and then eating it. Okay. All right. Sorry. Back to the thinking. Anyone got anything? If we don't have any full ideas, I'll take half ripened ideas. Yeah, tomorrow.
It's not even a half idea. It's
Okay.
just actually a question.
Yeah.
I was just trying to think of like a case where someone is like saying something and then it's has such a good outcome that they're satisfied with good, and I was really having a hard time thinking of anything.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's a good question. Yeah. And I think that question, if you do get an answer, will lead you to an idea. Yeah, Isaiah?
Okay, I'm gonna try to formulate an idea.
Okay.
So I was thinking like, I like the but translation.
Yeah.
And maybe what this is saying is that like, when a person uses their mouth, that's like they're able to tap into like they're able to create goods, I guess, like through like speaking to people and like arranging things, and they're able to tap into like concepts and ideas while they're doing that because they have like words. They're able to do stuff in that way. Whereas with your hands, you're like more limited. You can just move things around. Like your hands produce like exactly what they produce, but your mouth and your words can like create plans and produce like greater productions. So maybe that's like the tov is there's like a extra good that comes from using your mouth, whereas with your hands you just get back exactly what you put in. If you like you build something or you do something physical.
Okay. So because you're trying to develop this idea, I'm going to state my take on it just from what I'm hearing from you, and it's possible that I'm developing in a different direction. Okay. So the first half I really like. Let's just try that out first. Okay. So Isaiah, so I think is saying that with the gift of speech, we can directly produce good, okay, i.e. like ideas, concepts, knowledge, but with the actions of our hands, the outcome, or I guess what we get back is dependent on the interaction with the external world. So we only get back what we only get back in accordance with what we do. So how same or different is that from what you're saying?
That's pretty similar. I think what I'm saying is that like with your mouth, you're able to create like the work you do is like conceptual work, so it can produce good for you like in the future. Like you create a plan with your mouth that to like tell people to do things that are good in the future, whereas with your hands, like all you can build and do with your hands is exactly what is done. Like it's like you put a brick down and it builds and the brick is there.
Okay, is that really true?
Maybe
because
not.
Like let's say if I like, yeah, if I put a brick down, the brick is there. But if I like build a house, then I have a house. Or if I plant a seed, then the tree will grow. So like, I'm not exactly sure I see the clean division between the two. That's why I was trying to capture it. What I thought you were originally saying was, see, okay, eating fruit and being satisfied is like a direct good. You put the fruit into your mouth and then it satisfies you. But the gmul yedi'adam yashiv, the fact that it's putting in terms of gmul and yashiv, is like you do stuff and you have to wait till someone pays you back. You know, it's like contingent on someone else, whereas the first half is not contingent. That was what I thought you were saying.
Can I add on to?
Sure. Let's try to develop this idea.
I mean, I was thinking very similar to Isaiah. I was kind of taking like a little bit of a different angle though, meaning like there are two types of, workers out there.
Okay.
There are, workers who just do manual labor.
Yeah.
And then there are other individuals who kind of are, who think of ideas.
Right.
And they're able to, come up with like a great, I don't know, like a great business idea, right?
Right. Yeah. Do they call? Am I making up the term like mind workers or thought workers? Isn't that a thing that people use? Or am I?
I don't know, but I know they're like entrepreneurs, and then there are like people who just work for them.
Right.
Right. Meaning they're kind of like two, categories. Like one is like starting a business, and there are a lot more rewards from it.
Yeah.
and through his
Oh, okay, I see what you're getting at now.
through his, because I thought this is what
Oh yeah, no, that does ring true in terms of Isaiah. So let me okay, let me say Isaiah version 1, and then we'll do Isaiah. It's like the Christians who think there are two Isaiahs. Okay, Isaiah version 2, Ariel's version. Okay, which is that if your work is in the realm of speech and thought, then it can have a much farther and greater reach and create a lot more good. But if you are confined to the work of your hands, then you are much more limited and will only get back what you put in.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a limit. There's always a limit to.
Yeah. Isaiah, is that closer to what you were saying? Or
Yeah, that's much closer to what I was saying. Though I like the first idea also.
Okay. Yeah. So I was actually, I listened to part of my shiur on that other pasuk I mentioned, 18. Oh, not that. Sorry. Let me close this. I listened to the other my shiur that I gave on 1820. And in that shiur, I gave an example of, like, if you think about all the people who have done a lot of good and all the people who have done a lot of bad, then, and you think about how much of it they accomplish with their speech versus how much they accomplish with their actions, it is like night and day. Like, you picture, let's say someone bad, you take Hitler, okay, and you think about all the bad that he did with his speech, okay, and then you think, what if he couldn't communicate, okay? How much bad could he really do? He'd go around like hitting people, all of the bad was through speech. And then if you think about someone like, I don't know, like Shlomo HaMelech, or Moshe Rבינו, or like any good leader, any good visionary, like Winston Churchill, right? Like, there's so much is done through their mouth, through their speech, and if they're only limited to their hands, then they don't have that much influence. So now the question, according to this approach, is, what is the emphasis on being satiated, right? Because satiation, if we're saying this and we're saying but, then we're implying that the second guy cannot be satiated, whereas the first guy can. I understand the idea that the first guy accomplishes more, but why the idea of satiation? Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe you don't have to say. Can't you say that maybe his satiation is not a tov satiation?
Well,
Just
what do you
logically mean? It's yispa tov in the first half, so maybe it's when it's returned to him, it's just not returned with the tov part.
I'm confused. Wait, you were still going with the but translation, right? That this is contrasting two people?
Yeah, so it's like the pre of the mouth of the person is satisfies him was good, but the recompense of the hands of men are returned to him to satisfy him, but not with good.
Oh, so you're saying both of them are satisfying? Okay, so then my question is even bigger. Then why do we have satisfaction at all in this? Right? If we're talking about like measurable impact, then satisfaction is a little weird. But the other thing with satisfaction, see, if it just says, if it's a miprifish yochal tov, from the fruit of man's mouth, he will eat good. So then I'd be open to saying that it just means like he'll get a lot of good stuff. But satisfaction to me is like all your needs are taken care of, or like you are at the end of the eating process in the best way. So I'd like that to be explained.
Can I explain it?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe you could say that he'll be satiated. He will be satiated with good. Just means that, again, just going back to that mindset of like a business owner. Like he's not just working just to eat food and just live the bare minimum. He's working, presumably, if you're like a really good business owner, like at least this is how like we're taught, like you should work to satisfy your like desires in life. What I mean by desires, like I mean like your mission in life, like whether it's learning or it's to pay for, I don't know, your kids' tuition or whatever. Like there's more opportunity, and you work you build like a plan and a model that can satisfy all of those
Yeah.
needs. Versus if you're just an employee, you always have a limit, and you won't be able to, you may not necessarily satisfy all of them if you live in New York. Yeah.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I'll add that, and then tomorrow wants to add something also. Just one second. So why use satisfaction? Because only the person in the first half will be able to meet all of his needs. I just want to bring a disproof from another pasuk from Shlomo. Not to kill your ambition here, Ariel, but where is it?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. No, it's not that one. Where is it? Shnas ha'oved. Says, Metuka shanas. This is Koheles 5:11. Metuka shanas ha'oved ima'ad v'imharbe yochel. So the sleep of the laborer, the guy who's like working bodily, is sweet, whether he eats a little bit or a lot. V'hasava, but the state of satiation, la'ashir, of the rich person, einenu miniach lo lishon, doesn't allow him to sleep. In other words, it's the very fact that he's satisfied, with his wealth, and I don't think this is actual satisfaction, but the fact that like he has enough to like satisfy himself, that itself creates conflict, which doesn't allow him to sleep. I mean, that's a question for Koheles. I know it's not fair for bringing the Mishlei, but just something to think about. Yeah.
I would have to learn that pasuk.
Yeah. No, I'm not treating it as a real question. Yeah, tomorrow, where do you want to add to this?
I was actually also maybe in line with the pasuk from Koheles a little bit. I was gonna argue on the facts a little bit. I mean, I feel like if somebody, let's say, is a worker with a salary, versus somebody who is an entrepreneur who's trying, they have like a more unstable situation, or they're just always trying to grow their business, like that, the latter thing sounds like a less, at least on its face, sounds like a less satisfied existence.
I agree. And I think they also I agree. Yeah. I'll say that much. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not hold on a second. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Can I try another answer?
Another answer to that question? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I was thinking maybe in the way, I think we discussed a few or last pasuk or something about how the tzaddik, like when he taught chachma, it kind of helped build a society which was able to like feed him kind of and like help him. So maybe in this way, like the idea of the are you able to scroll up to the pasuk for a second? So the idea of the fruit of a man's mouth, so like what he's producing or like what he's doing kind of will be building not a system exactly like the tzaddik, but like his work will be able to satisfy him, because like it'll be able to go back and help him do what he needs more, as opposed to like the first guy where it's saying like, the second guy where what he's producing is just that, it's just whatever he did. But like the first guy's things that he's producing are kind of able to go back. And it reminds me also of, I think James Clear has this thing where he says like something of like, can you invest? What's one thing that you can do today to invest in your future, or like or make it easier every day, or something like that? I forgot the exact quote. He always says stuff better than we can say it. So yeah, right. Yeah, I hear what you're trying to say. That is a better answer than in my opinion than Ariel's answer, because it is talking about like an objective, getting objective good from the system that only a person who's using his mouth as a tzaddik could get. I know Ariel said not just as a tzaddik. Yeah. So let's just say answer 1 and answer 2 is that the mere fact that this person will produce more good will result objectively in a greater capacity for satisfaction, especially if he is a tzaddik and uses his speech that way.
Capitalism.
Yeah, exactly. Mishlei is very capitalistic. Okay.
So.
Yeah. All right. Let's try out another approach.
I do have another approach also.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Ariel.
Actually, I could I'll let
Okay, Rifki, go ahead.
Use more.
Thanks. Okay, so this, I don't think that this is like fully baked. But I know it's different.
Some people like Mishlei ideas that are gooey in the center. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I'm reading it as the same person. So I know it's obviously different. So I was
Or is it and or but? I guess you could read it as the same. Okay, you just tell me.
Yeah. And, but yeah.
Okay.
So I was thinking that this person, because I was thinking that the speech, whatever he's saying, he's limiting it in a way that he's making sure that what he's saying is kind of similar to last week, but different. Okay, I'm just gonna get the.
Okay. Okay, we have a brief commercial break. Let me take this as an opportunity to remind you that if you enjoy these free shiurim that I've been giving, then be sure to pledge your support on Patreon or on sponsorship. And to those who are my patrons who are in the shiur, thank you very much for your support. And yeah. This week's Torah has been brought to you by Sarah, who is sponsoring it in memory of Drew Lebin. That's this week, and I know she wouldn't want me to say it, but Sarah makes very frequent sponsorships, and I've been behind on sponsoring for her, so I said, "Can I merge them all into one?" So way to go, Sarah. Okay, yeah, Rifki.
Okay, so I was saying that. So this is the same person, and that this person is, in a way, I don't think that limiting always means that it's a bad thing, but I think that in this sense, he's making sure that what he's saying, even if he could technically, let's say, gain more, I don't know, let's say money or X, Y, and Z, that he isn't doing that because he knows that he wants to have, I guess, like better outcomes in the Mishleic world. So then I think it'll be more clear if I say the second half also.
Okay, sure.
And because of that, his actions, meaning that's why I'm assuming it uses that his
actions, right?
So his actions won't necessarily be as fruitful as he would want them to be if he would either speak freely, let's say, or let's say, if you're speaking with many groups of people, let's say you're like not even necessarily Rishon, but let's say, I don't know, like a seal or whatever. You might have more results. Again, I'm thinking more financially, but I think it could be other realms. And I think that it's using Hashem repaying this person to say that, no, that you making sure that you're speaking well and that you're using your words for good and not bad, even if you might think you're having like a smaller impact on, let's say, your community or yourself, like financially, that at the end of the day, that Hashem is going to repay you in this world in whatever way he will.
Okay, so I don't think I got most of that, but let me say what I did get, and then you can like fill in the details. Okay, so we are talking here about one person, and this person is doing two things. He's speaking, and he's also acting. Okay, that's what I got.
I think that so that's definitely true.
Yeah. So I just got lost in the idea.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to get across was that this person he's only being satisfied with good, and that's a good thing, but satisfaction implies more that you could have. So that's where I think the second half comes in with Hashem repaying that, even though he's only being satisfied with the things he's saying, he's doing that for a principle that he knows that he will end up being repaid in a better sense than he would have if he spoke in a, I guess, more like negative or
Okay, so this is like now. All right, so I think this is if you're saying what I think you're saying, that's a creative read. I mean, in a good way. Yisbatov means that he is satisfied just with the good, as opposed to like striving for like higher than that in a negative sense, like some fantasy type thing, or like Yisron, or like whatever. He's like Sameach Bechelko in terms of I'm content with just doing good, and because of that, then Hashem will repay him. Meaning even better. But if a person were to, so let's say then, what would the opposite of this look like? Because the opposite of this would not, I don't think, be a Russia, right? The opposite of this would be an overly ambitious person who is not able to be satisfied with here's the English proverb that comes in really handy here. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, right? Like if there are people who are so intent on perfection that they are not content with the good, and therefore they refrain from doing the good, but if you just are if you are content with doing what is good and you're not striving for unrealistic standards of perfection, and you, again, this is in your entire way that you conduct yourself, so then you'll get repaid. That's a nice idea for Yisbat Tov. Now the question is, why put the emphasis on the fruit of a man's mouth and the reward of his hands? To me, this idea doesn't really account for that, but I really like the idea of the Yisbat Tov. Let me just type this out before it flies away. Okay. Okay. So Rivki's idea is like, okay, I'm going to put this loose corollary. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Okay, I think that's Voltaire. Okay, so this pasuk is to be read as talking about one person who in speech and in deed is able to be content with the good and not strive for unrealistic standards of perfection or beyond what they are actually capable of doing. That's another mistake people make, is that they want to do, like, if you imagine you had a person who, like, the only type of tzedakah they want to give is something that's going to change people's lives. Well, maybe that's not the kind of tzedakah that you are capable of giving. And maybe if you just gave, like, to the person on the street corner, like, every day, then that's going to actually make a bigger difference. That person will be repaid by Hashem. Okay, now we need to figure out who the other person is. If you said the opposite. So anyone have an idea?
I think Tamar has something to share.
Tamar. Yeah, Tamar.
It might be a little bit far afield. Like, I think it might answer some of the questions, but it might change the idea too much. So
Okay,
I'm okay
sure.
with waiting.
Okay, whatever your intuition is.
I would wait, I think.
Okay, all right.
Wait, can you just repeat? You're just asking for the person that wouldn't be doing this.
I guess I'm asking two questions. I'm asking why the emphasis on pre-P-ish, which is an oddly specific thing, which I don't feel like your idea accounts for yet. And then the Gemul Yedei Adam. Your idea shines with the Yashiv, Yisbat Tov and Yashiv flow. That part I got. But how do we incorporate this into it? And then my other question is, who is the opposite of this? And we've a description of the opposite, but, like, what's going to happen to that person? Like, they're not going to be, well, I guess that person's not going to be satisfied, right? So let's start with that. But a person, all right, hold on. Yeah. Hold on a second. With the good will be repaid by Hashem. But a person who is not able to be, who lets the perfect be the enemy of the good, and is not capable of being satisfied with anything less than perfection, with anything less, will not be satisfied, okay, because of their desire, right? And will not get the reward from Hashem. I think you could say whether this is in terms of reward and punishment, or mishleic beneficial outcomes, right? Like, if you're not doing the good, because it's not perfect, you're just not going to get the you're not going to get the results. I have an example of this, and this is kind of a self-centered example, but I was talking about it with someone today, so, like, it came to mind. I was talking about how I want to be experimenting with different forms of content, and this person said, they said the fact that you've been writing articles since 2007 and, like, just churning out article after article after article and not waiting until you're doing a perfect thing. And that was actually the idea of why during the summers, for so many summers, I had the plan of, I'm going to produce one article a day no matter what. And I don't care if it's perfect or not, like, the goal is to produce. Can you imagine if I had just said, I'm only going to, like, publish an article when it is absolutely perfect. I just would have not written even half, So the very fact that I was content with the good instead of aiming for the perfect allowed me to reap the benefits. Like God rewarded me for those things. And I was able to be, and I was able to not have that. I was able to at the end of the summer, actually look back and be satisfied instead of being like, oh man, I only wrote 2 articles because I was looking for the perfection there. So that's
Can I also try? First of all, that was also a good example.
Yeah.
But can I try answering the question?
Yes.
So-
The question about the pre-ish and the gemul.
Yeah. So I was thinking that the fruit, the reason why it says fruit and also gemul is because gemul is automatically implying that there's something lacking, there's something missing.
Yeah.
So that's in reality, that is just a fact. It's saying that there's something that isn't full. So I think that maybe we can say that he's using fruit because fruit is generally, I think your dad was saying this, fruit is a positive connotation. So maybe we can relate them to say that in this person's mind, in this person's objective reality, he is satisfied with good from whatever he's saying clearly.
Yeah.
And he's not, like we said, going above and beyond that to the point where he is chasing yisroms or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he still, let's say, is lacking in some sort of way. Even if he doesn't feel like it, he still could be lacking objectively, or not objectively, but in reality.
So first of all, I feel like, are you going back on your thing that this is that this person? Oh, okay. I get what you're saying now. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if, first of all, I don't know if Gumul implies that you're lacking. I know Isaiah was trying to say something similar. I don't know if that implies that you're lacking, because I can be Gomel Chesed to you and you're not lacking. I mean, you're just, I'm just giving you more good.
You think even if you put it with satisfied, it still won't mean. So I feel like satisfied and also Gmul together, at least to me, imply that there's something that could be more.
Well, satisfied means that the way you're using satisfied means that there can be more. I hear that. Yeah, I hear that. I guess the fact, okay, I hear that you're reading. Maybe I just intuitively, it doesn't flow for me, but I hear the way you're reading it. Okay, let's try the next idea. Oh, wait, Ariel, you want to add? Yeah.
I wanted to add on to what Rifki was saying. I mean, I do think you could deduce that the second half, the guy in the second half of the pasuk is lacking something from when you say pre-ish, because maybe you could say that what the first guy has, he has that knowledge of the pre is the knowledge that which the man is using so that he's able to not be so focused on the perfection of it, versus the second guy he just doesn't have that.
Wait, so Rifki though is going with wait, hold on a second. When you say second guy, you mean the guy?
The
Rifki is all one pasuk, all one guy. So when you say second guy, you mean the guy who's the pasuk's not talking about?
Oh, okay. I misunderstood Rifki.
Yeah.
If you were saying, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rifki. I tried to help.
That's okay. Okay. Can we move on to tomorrow's idea now? Okay, tomorrow, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I'm glad that I waited, because this is a genuinely separate idea. So I wanted to say that maybe it is like we were saying, the contrast between the speech and action and two different people.
Okay.
And that the person who's I guess I want to say that the pre-ish is something to do with chachma.
Yeah.
That this person is involved in a activities or something, and that is going to lead him to satisfaction, or it's going to be capable of leading him to satisfaction. And the physical action, I feel like this is like similar to other things that people have said before, but the physical action is just like a limited, like, I don't know, I mean, I'm not trying to cross into like Kohelet's territory exactly, but like that that there's less capacity for satisfaction in something that is just like a physical action.
Yeah, so that to me seems very similar to the way that I understood Isaiah's initial thing. So can we just go like this? Can we just go like Isaiah blanks and then cross out the Isaiah, since that wasn't actually what he was saying, and then just say it's Tamar? Okay, so
yeah, I was the same.
your connection slowed down there.
I'm just sorry. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I'm just trying to read this to see. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm gonna start again but I want to put my idea under
Yeah.
yours, which is that if a person's involvement is in speech, which has to do with knowledge, ideas, thinking, thinking, etc., then he will be able to be satisfied. But if his energy is in action, then that same type of satisfaction, I know we're not fleshing it out yet, satisfaction is unattainable. Is that a faithful capturing of what you were saying?
Yeah, and I think that I would just add that the yeshiv lo, right? Is that what it's
Yeah.
That it's like a lack of expansiveness, if that makes sense. It's just like exactly what it is. It's very like limited, if that makes sense.
Okay,
I
yeah.
don't know.
As
exactly what to
implied
say.
by yashiv lo, which means that he just gets the result of what he did, like it gets a result commensurate with what he did, whereas the first guy is totally satisfied. See, I think this explains the weirdness of the mashal, right? Because, if I said, like, if you eat fruit, you're going to be satisfied. First of all, fruit is not, if you're talking about satiation, don't use fruit, right? Use bread, right? Bread is the food that satiates you. So it's weird to say you're satisfied with fruit in general, but also, like, if I say that this fruit is totally coming from you, that sounds even more unbelievable, that you're going to produce the thing that satisfies you. I think that's a good thing. This explains the mashal. He's being satisfied on non-satiation food, and he's producing the food with his own mouth. Okay, I think that is a good idea. Okay, yes, next is, yeah.
So I was working on what is the nature of food?
Okay,
What is the nature of fruit, rather? The
Yeah.
nature of fruit is the fruit needs to mature and ripen
yeah,
before it becomes sweet.
right.
And so comparing the first character, the first part of the pasuk,
Yeah,
that his words become sweet, satisfying as time goes on, and he becomes more. He develops more ripenness.
okay. I like that analogy. I was wondering if anyone was going to take that as the fruit is the final stage of development. The fruit that you eat is the final stage of the development of the tree, and it's like that's why we call it synonymous with the product. It's interesting, just putting aside the second half for a second, that serves as a really good contrast to the previous pasuk, because the previous pasuk was talking about a person who is making a mistake in speech, which most of the time is going to come from not like sitting and thinking about what you're going to say a lot. That was the in the offensive lips is an evil snare. This person is allowing the fruit, his thoughts to come to fruition. That's why I use the word fruition for that, and then they're ready to eat.
And the fruit can actually yield seeds that can have further generations benefit.
Right. Okay, so that's good for the first half. Did you have an idea for the second half, or just for the first
The
half?
second half, it's just I think other people have said it in different terms. The result is time limited. You
Yeah.
act, you get the recompense for the act, and that transaction is over. Whereas from the fruit, things can, you can plant an idea in someone's mind, a piece of fruit, and that can develop over time.
Right. Okay. So too. So fruit is only ready to eat when it's properly developed. So too, when it's, let's say, ripe, when it has developed and ripened. So too, a person can only be satisfied when he allows his thoughts to develop into a mature like idea. Yeah. Okay. So, but I still don't see the connection between the second half and the first half.
I'm exhausted from the first half. So
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, let's leave that then. That's also only how far I got. I thought the same way in terms of the first half, and that's also as far as I got. So let's leave that, and we'll see if it comes together after that. Yeah, Ariel.
Okay, I wanna you have a completely different approach.
Okay.
And I want to say it has to do with learning.
Okay.
Okay. So maybe you can say that there's a difference between a guy or a girl who learns versus someone who learns and gives shiurim.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe you can say that someone who like me pre-PE is someone who kind of like gives over Torah to other people, whether it's through a shiur, Dvar Torah, or kabura.
Yeah.
Having that, back and forth, in the learning will only help perfect his growth in learning and or the idea itself, or, and he won't just be satiated with it, but he'll be satiated with all the good that comes with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Versus someone who just I'm sorry. The truth is, I'm trying to see if there's a difference between just learning or just attending shiurim. There is a difference, because if you just attend shiur, you could just be a guy who's just passively getting all the just passively getting learning, but they're not really toiling in the work.
Right.
But I don't know. But whatever it is, like, maybe just like if you are in shiur or whatever, you just learn, but you don't give over those shiurim, like, you're going to be limited in the growth and the opportunity of it, but you will still be paid for it, because you still have some learning done, and it does affect you at some level, just not to its like fullest potential.
Okay, I mean, I definitely agree with your idea, and I think that your idea is it works for the first half. I still don't know why it would use, like, the work of your hands does seem to be talking about action. So it's hard for me to say that is attending a shiur, I would say,
so scratch that.
Okay, right.
So scratch that. I was just thinking out loud when I said that, but you could just say that you are learning, but just not giving over shiurim. You're not giving the shiur.
You're learning for which part? For the second half?
Yeah, the second half. Meaning, what you're lacking is the giving over of the Torah.
Yeah, but I still don't see why it would be talking. Then why is it talking about acting? You're going to get paid back for actions.
Oh, because you're still learning.
Yeah, but actions are not really works of your hands. I mean, sorry, learning is not works of your hands. You don't learn with your hands.
No, but you are toiling back and forth with developing the idea.
Yeah, I just don't think it would. I don't think that would be expressed with hands. I think ears, or like thinking, or something that you learn with. Like, you just don't learn with your hands. That's where I'm bringing it.
You do this.
Must be.
Okay, whatever.
But you got a good start there, I think. But yeah. Okay, so let me show you. I did not have very much luck with the meforshim here. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the strongest one, who's from someone who I don't usually do, which is Ibn Kospi. Okay, and I think if this goes well, I think I have a good example. Okay, Ibn Kospi says. So I still don't know why Ibn Kospi wrote two commentaries on Mishlei. Here's what he says. In fact, you know what? I'll type it out because it's short. Okay, Ibn Kospi says, "Hine tov." So first of all, he tells us how to read the pasuk. So he says, good, toar is an adjective. In other words, a good man. Okay, well, actually, let me just bring down his reading here, so we can see it. Yeah, so from the fruit of the mouth of a good man is how he's reading it. Okay. Vatam, the meaning is ki ha'isha tov, that a good man, the good man, yisba v'yochal, will eat and be satisfied, mipri fi ish va'ish, from the mouths of each and every person. Okay, very creative way to read it. So he's saying from the mouth of a good man, from the fruit of the mouth, a good man will be satisfied. So from the mouth of each and every person, okay, a good man will be satisfied. Kolomar, meaning to say, Yikabel tovos mi'ish v'ish, he will receive good from each and every person. V'hu yashuv gemul, and he will be paid reward. Sorry, he will pay back reward. Oh, interesting. So he's not taking it as Hashem. Okay, hold on a second. And the handiwork, the recompense of his handiwork. Let's see how he tries it. V'hu yashuv gemul, he will pay back reward l'chol echad v'echad mehem, to each and every one of them, karoilo, in accordance with accordingly. Say accordingly. Ki eno mekapeach sachar kol beri v'beri, because he will not hold back. I think he's not talking about God. I think he was said God. He will back reward from any person. Okay, so first of all, what is he saying in your own words here? What is this guy doing?
It seems like he's learning from other people.
Yes. Okay. Right. So yeah. So this is what he's saying. So he's saying. So this is like the Ben Zoma's statement in Pirkei Avos 4:1. Etiu chacham halomin mikol adam, who is wise, someone who learns from everyone. And what he's doing is he is listening to people talk and learning something from everything that they have to say. Right. And so in the obvious way to do that is you learn from the true ideas that they have to say. Right. But let's say they're not saying true ideas. I used to give when there would be high school students who would hate certain teachers, I would say, okay, fine. So then don't ignore what they say. In class, sit there and try to figure out how to disprove everything that they say, or if you disagree, pretend that they are questioning you and like try to build up what you would say and how would you defend them, or how would you defend your ideas against them? Or let's say they're not saying ideas at all. Let's say they're just, saying like nonsense. Well, here's the thing is you can study like from what they talk about, or you can use examples from what they talk about, or there's the chacham is going to find something valuable that they can learn from what anyone says. Okay, and what he's going to do, this is where the teaching comes in, and I'm curious how he's going to respond to the question I asked on Ariel. Because he's saying he will pay back reward to each and every one of them accordingly. Yes. What do you think that means? He will pay back reward to each one of them accordingly. Like practically, what is that talking about?
Maybe like he'll view the good that can come from each person, like he views the good independent from who it's coming from, because he listens to like everybody.
That's interesting. So what is he doing though? Because I think we have to say he's doing something, because it does say.
I guess he's like giving thanks to for the good that he was provided for. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought that also, but I'm not sure. Yeah, Ariel?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think when we're saying the same thing as Zayah saying, but like he's giving them credit. He's like boosting them in society.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I think that might be good as well. In other words, yeah. So I was thinking that this is what I saw this example of this with Rabbi Moskowitz. This is why like I think we are going with this, is that we were trying to find an appropriate statement of in the pasukim or in Chazal for Rabbi Moskowitz's tombstone, and what we came up with was the statement of Harbi chachmi limadati. I've learned a lot of wisdom. Mi rabosai yeser mi chavera yeser mi rabosai, from my friends more than from my teachers. Mi chavera yeser mi kulam, and from my students more than anyone. So Rabbi Moskowitz, one of the things he consistently did is like extracting chachma from what people said. So whether that is like listening to students and being able to hear the questions that they're asking, even if they weren't asking them properly, or like getting ideas from what they were saying, or getting examples from what they're saying, or learning from what they're saying, like what they're talking about. Like Rabbi Moskowitz was always like up on the latest trends and stuff, because he would actually listen to what high schoolers were talking about, And so what that did is that result. So maybe I'm talking myself into a broader thing here, is that, yeah, giving credit is one thing, articulating the ideas or the benefits is another thing, but also like interacting with a person on the basis of that. Like, in other words, if I don't view you as a teacher, you're just some Joe Schmo who adds no value to my life, then I'm not going to interact with you in a way that is gomel and repaying you. But if I view myself as, maybe this is now I'm talking myself into what someone was saying before, that there's like a debt here, that like if I know I didn't think of that earlier, because here we're talking about the guy who himself is paying back. If I'm learning from everybody, I'm going to interact with them in a way where I am like paying them back for the good that they've given me. And they didn't even intend to give me the good. I'm just getting the good from them. Yeah, Ariel?
Yeah, I think I'm going to say a little differently.
Yeah.
Maybe you could say like the reward. I mean, like the ultimate reward really is like, like it's like validating them. It's kind of it's like they had something great to say that impacts the world, and like you're kind of validating them by giving by like, I don't know, like encouraging them to give more of these. You like highlight their good qualities in a way.
I hear that. Again, the thing that bothers me is it does say Gumul Yedei Adam. Hold on. How did he say it again? V'hu Yashuv Gumul l'chol ech v'echad mehem karoi lo ki enu. Yeah, it's funny because he doesn't even explain the Gumul Yedei Adam. I'm bothered by that. The reward, recompense for his handiwork. Yeah, why are we talking about handiwork here? Still is a sticking point. I don't know. All right, let me show you another one. Okay, again, I don't have a lot from the meforshim here. All right, Radak says, I think this is well, let's see. Miprifi ish Adam should devarav tovo. I'll translate it here also. Hold on. As long as it's short, I'll translate. I'm not going to translate Rבינו Yona. Okay, so this is Radak, and he says, "Miprifi ish Adam shedavarav tovim," the man whose words are good, unechochim, and I think nechochim is just another word for proper. I forgot the exact translation. Bnei Adam yimtzu behem toelas, and people find them beneficial. V'hu yisba ba'avuram, and he is satisfied from them. Mikol tuv, satisfied. Okay, and then from all good. I know that sounds weird in English. Ki yishalim lo Hashem sachar pulaso. For Hashem will pay back the reward of his activity. Uchumochin la rasha hu gomel masav, and he will pay back the rasha for his actions. I don't know why I flagged this one. I like the first part. See, the first part of this pasuk is much easier than the second part. Let's do Rבינו Yona at the same time. Okay, okay, I'm not going to type this one now. So this is telling you, this is going to answer your question tomorrow about like you're thinking about like the good that this person is doing, or I forgot exactly your question, but I think this might shed light on it. This is coming to tell you to shetirdof tzedek uzchius bedavar sfasaka, that you should pursue righteousness and vindication through the speech of your lips, umase adacha, and through your handiwork, the work of your hands. Kischarcha harbe meod, you will have a lot of reward b'divrei sfasacha, in the words of your lips, kasher b'masei adacha, like in the work of your hands. Kagon behigayon hachachma, like when you're speaking in chachma, or be'etza, or in advice, hatova, good advice, or ba'asher techazek yidei ha'emes, or if you support people who are you support the truth, Utadaber Mesharim, and you speak about upright things. Utkadishim Shemaim, and you make a Kiddush Hashem. V'tashiv Rabbi Me'avon, and you turn people away from sin. V'tikach Nefashos, and you acquire students. Shekasuv, as it's stated, Makor Chaim Pi Tzadik, that the Tzadik's mouth is a well of life, a wellspring of life. So what he's saying here so far is he's saying that this is talking about using your lips and your speech for good. Okay, and he gives a lot of examples for how you use it for good. Okay, so not just learning. All right, then he says, "Uva'ata lahakish ulahashvos ki chelik bal hadvarim hatorim haosim pri mitzvah uki chelik bal hamase yachtav yachloku." That he's saying that the guy who uses his speech for good and the guy who does his actions for good are both going to get reward. Al-Kain, literally, they're going to divide it. Al-Kain, Amar mipri fi ish yisbatov, Amruzal, b'din hatzedakah, gadol hamase yoser min ha'oseh. It says, from the mouth of a person, from the fruit of a person's mouth, he will eat good. And Chazal say, regarding tzedakah, greater is the deed than the doer. I don't know why he brings that in, and that's not from Mishlei. That's a misquote. Hold on, let me just check my good edition. I don't think that's a pasuk in Mishlei because he says Chazal. Let me just look here. 12, 14. Yeah, it's Bava Basra, Tes Amud Aleph. Gadol ha'oseh yoser min ha'maseh. Let me just check that out really quickly. 9a. So while I'm checking this out, think about what Rבינו Yona is getting at here. So he's saying it's talking about someone who uses speech for good, and it's equating him with someone who does actions for good. So that answers the question of what the Havamina is, right? What would you think? You would think that, oh, action is the real good, and you're going to get reward for action, but speech, like what? How much? You know, what reward from Hashem can you get with speech? And he's saying that there's a lot of reward you can get. Now, I don't know if that's a compelling Havamina, but that's what seems to be what he's saying. Let's see. Gadol. Okay. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Gadol hama'aseh yoser min ha'oseh. Greater is the deed than the doer. Shenemar, as it says, V'haya ma'aseh hatzdaka shalom v'avodas hatzdaka hashket ubetach ad olam. Wait, let me just see where the pasuk ends. And the causing maaseh of righteousness shall be peace, and the work of righteousness, quietness, and assurance forever. If one merits, so zacha, if one merits, halo parush l'ra'av lachmecha, then the following is applied to him, that is it not to share your bread with the hungry? Lo zacha, and if he does not merit, then the rest of the pasuk applies to him. Va'anim rodim tavo bayis, i.e., he will be compelled by the government to billet soldiers in his house. Okay, fine. So what is Rashi saying here? Okay, I can't learn through this Gemara here. All right, yeah. So what is Rבינו Yona saying here?
Honestly, I don't really understand what he's saying.
Well, the facts are that you will think that God rewards you for doing good things, and He does. But what the pasuk is coming to tell you is that you can even be satisfied. You can eat a lot of good from and get a lot of reward from using your speech in these righteous ways, from chasing tzedek and innocence and what did he say? And speaking in chachma or advice, good advice, or doing other stuff. You know, so
what's better according to that?
He's saying it's equating them.
It's equal.
It's connecting. It's comparing them and equating them. Ki chelik bal hadvarim hatorim haosim pri mitzvah ukechelik bal hamase yachtav yachloku. They're going to split it. I mean, they're going to have people.
What will be an example of using speech to get stuff? Just maybe because. Let
me say that again. Chasing tzedek and innocence, speaking in chachma, giving good advice, strengthening the people who support the truth, speaking upright things, being mekadeshim shemaim, turning people back from avon, getting students. 8 examples. Yeah, Isaiah.
I mean, it sounds like maybe the like common thing between all these is like your perfection. Like you would have thought, like, I don't know, for some reason your actions are the only thing that can produce your perfection, and then really it's also your speech.
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you, I have this havamina a lot, okay, because I give tzedakah, but I don't like go out and like do chesed with my body, you know. Like a lot of people do, you know, and so I sometimes feel self-conscious about that. And I'm not saying this just to make myself feel better, but like the amount of time I spend answering questions and helping people who need advice about stuff or who like are looking for stuff with Torah. Like, I feel like I just have a different chelek than the people. Like, there are people who are very good at going out and like organizing events and stuff like that, you know, and like doing stuff with their hands, you know, and like, I'm sure I could do that if I wanted to, but like, I think that like my energies and talents lie in using my mouth to do chesed, and it is a different kind of chesed, you know? And so I do think that there is this feeling though of like, that it's somehow less real because it is not, you're not producing results that you're seeing tangibly, you know? So maybe this is addressing that. Yeah, Ayala?
So I feel like the idea that it's less real, like, because definitely the speech is more in like the social realm or like very like non-physical thingy, whereas like actions is physical. And it reminds me also of the idea in Kehillah that like people want to have like a physical thing that's like gonna outlive them, or in this way, like a physical thing which they could like see the results of their actions. And maybe honestly, I'm just thinking now, maybe that's why it says yisva, because you'd think like you're satisfied once you like work so hard on something and you like have this magnificent thing which you built. But he's saying no, even if you are not physically doing something with your hands, only with your mouth, you can be equally as satisfied.
Right. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. I hear that. It is definitely a thing that people want a tangible result. Okay, let's read one more just to read it, and then we'll summarize and end. Mitzus David says, Torah. If it's talking about the statements of a person's mouth in words of Torah, Yisba Bavurim Tov, then he'll be satisfied with good. Kol Shekain, so sorry, if a person is satisfied with the words of Torah, Kol Shekain hu shegamul maaseh yadav yashiv lo hamakom, then Kal v'chomer, God will reward his good actions. Sorry, his actions, im tov v'im ra, if good or if bad. So the thing that intrigues me here is two things. One is he's saying a kal v'chomer from being satisfied with good from your speech. If you're satisfied with good from your words of Torah, kal v'chomer for your actions, okay? And then he throws in for good and for bad. So I don't know why he's mixing like the good and the bad at the end.
Meaning like you will be meaning he's not going to give you a reward. I mean, is he saying you're going to get a
recompense, like
a recompense? Okay.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah. Let me just type it out here, just so we can see it. Mitzudas David. Okay. In other words, if a person is satisfied with the good of words of Torah from his mouth, Kal v'chomer, he will be repaid in accordance by God in accordance with his actions, whether for good or bad. I just
like
don't.
Rabbi Cinnamon's share from Sunday.
What was that?
It's like Rabbi Cinnamon's share.
I didn't hear share on Sunday. Yeah, so what is the it's just tantalizing here. And Rabag, I think, said a similar thing. And is Rabag Adam. All the more so from actions will come to a person, Gamul, a reward, a recompense. According to what is fitting. This proves to you that there's reward for every action. Okay, so he's saying if you see that God rewards you for your speech, then all the more so it's true for your actions. Okay, yeah, tomorrow I'll reiterate in a second. Yeah.
Okay, so you might have actually resolved the problem that I was trying to resolve, but I was wondering if you could grammatically read it as like kol shekain, that this person will be satisfied when he gets paid.
That's how I thought it was, but I think the Ralbag is saying kol shekain, it's true that he will be rewarded.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap it up. This is a tough one, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so we had possibly my idea, possibly tomorrow's idea, that that in terms of the here's how I'm gonna say it now. If the true reward is the amount of perfection that you get, okay, from like being involved in Torah, So you can generate a lot more perfection through involving your speech in knowledge and thinking and ideas than you can with action. It's true that action will get you reward, but like we've been saying all night, actions are limited, but and they're also dependent on external circumstances and dependent on like what you get from it. But you can just generate ideas and learning through your own speech. So it's like, that's, again, I think the key is in the weirdness of the mashal, that you're making fruit and eating it and being satisfied. What better life than that? Like, there's no creature on earth that can do that except for a human being, yeah. Okay. Then there is Isaiah and Ariel's tag team idea, which is that if your work, what you put your energy to is in the realm of speech and thought, then you can have a much further reach and create a lot more good. Whereas if you are only doing with your hands, then you're going to only get back what you get put in. You're going to only get back what you put in. My only question on that still, which I don't have a fully, I'm not satisfied with the answer to, is why put the emphasis on satisfaction? If you're talking about the greater good that you're doing or the greater reach, I still don't see why it's satisfaction. And yeah, we have some answers, but I don't find them satisfying. Okay, Rivki, this idea, I think, this idea, okay, I don't know which one I like the best. I like this reading though, is that if you are able to be satisfied with the good, then God will reward you. But if you allow the perfect to be the enemy of the good and are not content with merely the good, and you want more than that, or you want to do good that is not within your chelek, so then you will not be satisfied and you will not have as much reward, for either from Hashem, in Olam Haba, or from Mishlei consequences. So this is saying, it's okay to be satisfied with the good. In fact, it's better to be satisfied with the good than to overdo it. And then we had some other half approaches of, I still think there's a lot of potential in this one, using the mashal of fruit is something that has to ripen, and the speech is the ultimate fruition of thought. Yeah, Ariel?
Yeah, my question is, it seems like in the meforshim, they, like this more of like a methodological question, but like it seems like in the meforshim, they were equating or making it sound like the second half of the pasuk was better than the first. So like,
yeah, two of them were doing that.
Where did we go wrong? Like,
no, we didn't go wrong. No, we saw, so Metzudas David and Rabag said that the second half is better than the first. Rבינו Yona says it's equal. And then Ibn Kospi, I have no idea what's going on there. Ibn Kospi is saying that it's describing what the guy in the pasuk is doing. The guy in the pasuk so he's saying the Ish Tov is being gomel to other people, Yeah,
wait, maybe I misheard you. You're saying that they held that the second half of the pasuk was better than the first, right?
Well, the Metzudas and the Metzudas David and the Rabag held that the second half is better than the first, and the Rבינו Yona says it's equal. Okay. And there are a bunch of other meforshim who say other things.
Right. Yeah, I know. I don't know why, but for some reason it seems like we were all learning that this first half
is better. Yeah, right.
Better.
Yeah, I think the first half is better because it is because that is satisfaction,
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Like, I mean, Rashi only comments on the first half also. He says, Miskar PM shall oske Torah ochlim tov ba'olam hazeh v'keren kayemes. So the from the fruit of man's mouth, meaning from the reward of being involved in Torah, they will eat good in this world and in the next world. Whereas he doesn't say the second half, but presumably with your hands, you're not going to get in this world and in the next world. You're just going to get in this world.
And what was your dad's approach again?
Is that fruit is the mashal of fruit is like, it's the most fully developed form, and so I think there's something in there also, but we didn't bring that to completion. Okay, tough one, but I'm glad we worked at it. We didn't have an army of people tonight like we did last week. We were only 15 people, so we that's it's good. I think I like Rivki's idea, and I like elements of the rest of our ideas. I think I like Rivki's idea the best here, though, even though it's not. I don't know if the meforshim like it, by the way. Because I think like be content with this, as opposed to will be content with this. But I do like the idea, though. Yeah.
Can you just send like the little summaries that you wrote tonight?
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Yeah, I want to think about it more. This is hard. Not gonna lie.
Very hard. Yep. Okay. Thanks for joining, and until next time. Until next time. Okay.
Thank you.